So they say all good things do eventually come to an end, and this week it was a turn, unfortunately, of the podcast Believe You Me, and I'm a little bit upset about it. I'll explain to you guys why, but before I do, my name's Rahul J. Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. So if you're not aware, the Believe You Me podcast is an MMA podcast hosted by comedian Bisping Gomez and British mixed martial arts legend, ex-champion of the world, Michael the Count Bisping. Yesterday on my travels on Twitter in the evening, well, I say evening, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw a video that Bisping Gomez has posted, and he basically just confirmed that he won't be returning the podcast. He said that him and Michael Bisping are really busy, their careers are moving in different directions, and he just doesn't feel passionate for broadcasting about mixed martial arts anymore, and it's just not something that he enjoys, so it's decided to leave before things turn sour. That last sentence there, before things turn sour, I have just said that, so I don't know if I'm paraphrasing, I don't know if I've made that up, but I suppose that's the feeling that I got from the video that he posted, because I don't think he actually used that phrase. And Twitter's going to Twitter, right? So I was scrolling through responses to the video, and a lot of people were speculating about the health of the relationship between the two of them. Some people that went to one of the shows in Britain, because obviously both of them have been touring. Bisping has been selling out arenas across the country. People were saying, I didn't see them together, they didn't seem like friends, something seemed a bit off, blah, blah, blah. And that's all speculation, right? Because neither of them have come out and said anything, and I'm not going to believe or speculate about anything until we have some concrete words from either of the two. And the reason why I feel, because I love speculating me, like if you know this channel, you know I like speculating. The reason why I don't really want to do it between these two is because I'm a fan of both of them. I like both of them, and in my heart of hearts I want them to be friends, so I don't want to sit here and preempt a fallout between them until one of them actually confirm, or both of them actually confirm, that they've fallen out. Now Michael Bisping did respond to that tweet saying, oh, it's been a blast, we've had fun, blah blah blah. So I hope they do still have a strong friendship, right? One of the things, and now I've just told you guys I'm not going to speculate, but I can't help it, right? One of the things that I did notice in that video is Bisping Gomez saying how he believes Michael Bisping will continue the podcast, rebrand it. He believes Michael Bisping will continue podcasting, etc. And while I was listening to him say that, I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, if you guys are still mates, surely you should know what's going to happen. Like, this just seems like you're just now speculating about what Michael Bisping's next move is. But if you're mates, you lot would have had this conversation, surely. But what I'm hoping that is just that he doesn't, like, it's not his responsibility to say what Michael Bisping's next move is, right? So that's down to Michael Bisping to announce his next move to us at his own leisure. So maybe that's why he was a little bit vague about Michael Bisping's next moves. But anyway, all of that stuff's by the by. It's quite funny, right? Because my actual kind of, when this podcast started initially, because I was such a big fan of The Fighter and the Kid and Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub, I remember when Believe You Me started, they threw a couple of jabs at the podcast saying, oh, they're copying our format. They got a comedian and a fighter, and they're doing what we're doing. And at that time, because I was such a big fan of The Fighter and the Kid, it was almost like I was a member of their cult. I was like, yeah, they're right. Michael Bisping and Bisping Gomez are copying The Fighter and the Kid format, which is really strange, actually, because if you asked me who I prefer, or who I'm more of a fan of as a fighter, like, it would be hands down Michael Bisping compared to Brendan Schaub. Like, it wouldn't even be a question, right? But because I was a fan of the podcast, I was sat there saying, yeah, you know, Michael Bisping has copied Brendan Schaub. And I suppose that's the power of the medium of podcasting, right? Because you sit there and you listen to people speak for, you know, over an hour every week, right? And you begin to feel like you know them and you get their personality and you understand them. And one thing that really disproves that theory is actually, back then I was such a big fan of The Fighter and the Kid, and now if you've watched my previous videos, you'll see that I'm a full-fledged member of I'm a full-fledged homeless cat, right? I work at PF Chang's, and if these references are going over your head, all you need to do is go on the Fighter and the Kid subreddit. And while we're on this topic, actually, it's quite funny because recently, obviously, Ara Hawani has been beefing with Brendan Schaub. Previously, Brian Campbell, one half of the Morning Combat duo, he's kind of thrown shots in Brendan Schaub's directions, referencing different terminology used on the Fright and the Kids subreddit. And there's conversations about who the CEO of PF Chang's is, right? Is it Ara Hawani? Is it Brian Campbell? One thing that I would personally like to say is I believe Lewis J. Gomez definitely deserves a seat on the board of PF Chang's, because he is the first person, the first public figure that I can recall reference Brendan Schaub, reference the subreddit, and talked about Brendan Schaub's lack of comedic ability, and actually was truthful about the two of them in public spaces. And I believe he deserves an honorary mention for that, because he saw something years ago that I couldn't see back then, and I definitely see it now. And I believe, you know, majority of the consumers in this space, people that listen to MMA podcasts and stuff, see the very thing that Lewis J. Gomez was highlighting years ago. Going back to the point I was making about the chemistry and the camaraderie between the two of them, Lewis and Michael Bisping, that's hard to capture, right? What they had was, I feel like it was really something special. Like, I feel like they bounced off each other well. They took the piss out of each other. It was just a fun, light-hearted listen, man. And I feel like that's a really difficult balancing act, being able to kind of have a 50-50 show where it's 50-50 MMA and 50-50 banter. And I felt like they balanced it really, really well. And in terms of moving forward for Michael Bisping, if he tries to just bring in another, you know, quote, comedian, it will be very difficult, because I feel like I'll be guilty of this as well. All we're going to be doing is just comparing the new guy with Lewis and saying, oh, this isn't as good, this isn't as good. So maybe it might be time for Michael Bisping to just go into a completely different direction. And maybe he should just consider just having a show almost like Anik and Florian's, where it's more just MMA based, and obviously a little bit of light-hearted banter, but not as much, given the fact that Lewis is an actual comedian. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So maybe going in that direction. But it'll be interesting to see, man. It'll be interesting to see what moves Michael Bisping makes going forward. I'm not really, like, I know of the Legion of Skanks and all of that stuff, but that's not really my bag. I don't really know any of the other members of that crew with Lewis J. Gomez, so I don't know whether I'll be seeing his content moving forward, man. It might pop up on my YouTube. I'll definitely give it a click. But, like, the side of Lewis J. Gomez that I familiarized myself with was just on this podcast. It didn't translate into any of his other content. So, like, I wish obviously him well as well, because, like I say, I'm a big fan of his forward thinking when it comes to Brendan Schaub. But yeah, man, it's a sad time, because that was one of the top MMA podcasts, really. Like, if I list out the stuff that I listen to or watch, it's the Morning Combat duo. I watch Luke Thomas's live chat that he does once a week. Ara Hawani shows I watch twice a week. And believe you me, like, those were my go-to, and now I've got one less to enjoy. So whether I fill that void with something else, or whether I just have one less podcast a week to listen to, time will tell. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, man. Feel free to put any comments about the podcast itself below, any memories that you might have, any comments about the future for both of these guys. That's about it, really, from me. So feel free to like this video, share it with a friend if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys next time.